How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day today. It's that time again. It's time to get creative. It's time to get imaginative. It's time to do some animation. And it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Chris Sanders. If you're not familiar with his work, you probably are. You just don't know it. He was the creative mind behind The Croods, How to Train Your Dragon, Lilo and Stitch. He did a bunch of work on Mulan. Just overall, an amazing illustrator. I really like his sketch work. That's my favorite thing that he does, but great creative director and everything too. I'm sure you love these movies just as much as I do. They're all really unique and still feel like there's underlying the same creative mind behind them, even though each one is very distinct and very different. So anyways, I grabbed a couple of little images from one of his sketchbooks here that I wanted to share with you. I just think they're so great. I like how loose his drawings are in his work, but there's still that underlying solid anatomy down below there, and I'm getting more into that myself, that I'm really appreciating more loose drawings than being so tight. And there's some great expression in there. I really like how he always does like a very round face. If you look through most of his characters, most of them go with a very, very overly round or overly like almost like a soft face. I feel like that works really well with more of a hard anatomy on the body. I think that's a nice kind of contrast there. Yeah, I just love the way his characters and everything, he has such a distinct style as well that really works well. Like even this bear right here, you can see kind of that same style that goes into Toothless or into Stitch or any of those characters as well. But I really just love his stuff. If you're not familiar with his work, definitely go grab anything you can by him. He's got a pretty good online presence as well, so you usually can find some interesting things from him. Definitely check out his Facebook and everything as well. He's just a great artist and a really creative mind. So that being said, I grabbed a couple of quotes from some interviews that he did that I want to share with you guys as well. The believability factor was the most important thing. They have to move and breathe as if they're really alive. And I think that's totally true, in anything that you're working on creatively, you want to have your worlds or your music or your feeling or your sculpt or whatever it is be as believable as possible. Now, does that mean it has to be realistic? No, but you want to give yourself some limitations to the worlds in which you're creating. So if you're creating a giant orc, give him features that would be believable to big orcs, and make it doesn't have to be the same as anyone else's orc. You can make it true to yourself, but that the mother of that orc would have things that work with that same universe, and they all work with that. Or for some reason I just have orcs on the brain. Or if you're creating a world about vegetable people, how they all interact with each other would all have to be the same. Do they all have telepathy and they can understand each other because they don't have mouths? I mean, you just come up with these ideas and you try to work within that universe and have everything be true to that universe, so that it makes it so that it can be something where other people can go along with it and believe in it. And then always have a little bit of story in your drawings. I think that's good advice, and I think that's amazing stuff too, in that you want, I think it's the Illusion of Life, and I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but there's that drawing of I think it's like Mickey Mouse, and it's really well drawn, but it's really flat and everything. But if you add some dynamic, we talk about this a lot, the storytelling poses, is that if you have where he's really into it and he's got some good expression on there, and you're like, so you can kind of get a glimpse of what maybe happened just before or what's going to happen right after that image, and that'll make your drawings or your illustrations or anything just come to life even more, because you're automatically putting some sort of background and something into your character more than just a single well-rendered image. If you give some more effort on expression or in posing and all that stuff, can just bring that stuff even more to life. So that being said, definitely check out Chris Sanders stuff. I love his stuff. He's phenomenal. One of my favorites that's around these days. And yeah, so that being said, let's go ahead and get into some animation today. If you're not familiar with this series, what we'll be doing for the rest of the video is give ourselves 48 frames, that's 2 seconds of animation, and grab a rig that I've never used before. This is a Peacock Bass rig, which is from, oh shoot, let me grab the site here. It's edge-cgi.com, and I will throw a link in the description below if you guys want to check that out as well. So yeah, we'll do 48 frames and we'll see what we come up with. Kind of do some over-the-shoulder stuff, so you can just kind of watch. If you're not familiar with the animation process, maybe learn something that way. And if you are really familiar, maybe you get a different rig that you haven't tried out before, or at least get inspired to go off and create your own stuff, whatever medium that is. So let's get started. So we already saved our file here, so let's create a polygon primitives cube. And again, this is a fish, so we don't need to have it on the ground here. But we still want to give ourselves some sort of a scene to work with. We have like a floor here. And let's go ahead and stretch it out a little bit more. And I want him to be kind of a slow fish. So let's see, let's turn everything off except for our mirror curves, mirrored surfaces, and our polygons. And go ahead and do a little bit of rotation here. Just set up one of those storytelling poses like we just talked about. So you have a nice curve in there. Maybe a little less there. Maybe we'll rotate that head down just a little bit, and the tail down just a little bit there, so there's a little bit of an arc there. Let's see. Put those fins down a little bit lower, and a little bit lower here as well. This jaw. Let's go ahead and kind of give him a little bit of a overbite there. Overbite or underbite? Overbite. Eyes, if they're in blink. Out here. Okay, I think that's a fairly decent starting pose here. And I want to figure out an angle that we want to shoot this at. Maybe something akin to like this. I think that would probably be good. So let's create a new camera. Let's switch our perspective to look through our second camera. We can always revert back to that other angle that we liked. And let's just save our file again here. Control S. We are using Maya 2014 today. Don't forget to save multiple versions and to save often as well. And then let's set our frame range. We'll go from 0 to 48. And let's go ahead and turn on our second screen here. Bear with me 1 second. And we're just going to minimize that here. And then we'll turn on our window animation editor there's graph editor, pull that down here so you guys can see all the graph editor stuff we're going to be doing down there. And I'll minimize that. Okay. Now you should be able to see all the graph editor stuff we're going to be doing. And again, we just want our new curves, surfaces, and polygons. Let's go ahead and set a key there. Let's go 48. And again, I kind of want this to be a slow fish, so I'm not going to do a ton of movement here. And let's go ahead and even that out so it's a consistent move throughout here. Let's go ahead and see that now. Maybe even a little too fast. Like I said, I kind of want it to be slow and a little meandery with this fish here. Let's slow him down a little more. Yeah, even more. I want that to be consistent. That's just a movement left to right. Pretty good. Now let's go ahead and go on 10s. And let's switch this over to 50 frames. So we kind of want a meander feel to there, where it's, there's some, you know, he is going straight ahead, but there's going to be a little bit of a wide way that he gets there. And let's find that. I think we'll minimize that a little bit more. Let's check that here. So let's do 15. This one will be 60. Okay, so we'll do 60 frames. It'll be a little bit longer. Let's see. It's going to translate Z here. I'm going to extend that. Beef it out a little bit more. Let's go to 8 and up. Frames from that would be 25. Three. Come on, math skills. And 38. 3. Up and down there. So it's a little bit of balance instead. Otherwise, it's kind of looping. We don't really want that. Back up. Let's see. Too much. Okay, maybe a little too much side to side. Let's pull it down to about 4 here, about 4 there. Not to be exactly even, but we want it to be kind of similar here. Let's give him a little bit of taint there. Okay, so let's see. Okay, maybe a little too much, but I think that's along the right thought process there. Let's see here. Let's tilt the head here. Should be leading, so we want to tilt into there. Flip that way. 30, flip that way. 45 way. And 60 back that way. Okay. I want this to be produced at 15. Let's see here. Actually hit like 8 instead. Zero now. So, right. Alright, sorry about the language there. Someone's watching something next door. Do something like that. close it there. Okay, feels about right. Let's go 30, 35. Let's see. Okay, 1 second here. Okay, sorry about that. And let's go ahead and keep looking at this here. I think we could probably delay these a frame. So there's a little bit of successive movement, and this one frame as well. Let's go and look at that now. It's a little better. And then let's go ahead and there's a frame as well. Let's delay this flipper more as well. Because it's going to want to. Let's take a look back at that head. Maybe this should hit at about 10, so maybe a couple of frames sooner. Let's go more sooner. I feel like it looks too far this way, even though I know it's just because of the camera angle. I have to overcompensate for that. It feels like it's working okay. Let's try and do a little bit of up and down then on the body here. So let's grab all 3 of these guys. Let's go. Translate lines and key there. As well. Let's see. Do a little bit of rotating there. Okay, over the top. Let's see from the top. So let's tweak it a bit. Let's see what we can get. Let's see here. Let's try flipping it into the other direction here. just for setting up our timing. Let's go watch some. Go the other way. Okay, let's see here. And 10. Did this wrong here. Because this should be an up and down, just like the other side is. That's what we have on the chest, so we want the head to do that same thing. Or at least work at the same timing. Too over the top, so too much down here. This way. This way. And let's go ahead and tweak that a little bit. Let's see here. Saturate it a little more. Let's see. It's pretty good. Maybe about 2 frames. What if we pushed it forward a frame? Let's go on 10s on these. Too fast. So let's do it on 15. 30, 45, 60. Let's see. It's too far forward. Let's go ahead and pull it back a little more. Let's go to the other side here. Out. Out. Back. Let's go and look at it now. And let's kind of find a good balance here. Favor that back a little more. Let's go and see that. Where does it see? Still feels like this one could be a little bit. Just little minor tweaks there. And then let's go ahead and let's actually save our file. We haven't done that for a little bit. And let's see if we can't do a little bit of up and down here. Let's see here. Maybe not as much, but I think that idea works. These need to be toned down a little bit more. Alright, what else can we do? We need to do some blinks on the eyes. A blink here. Some derpier eyes, I guess that'll be kind of fun. Yeah, straightforward. Oh well, we can't do too much with that, so let's see if we can't do a little bit with the mouth here. Take it a little bit that way. That way. This way. Let's see. Push that forward a frame there. Let's see. And if we did a little bit more on these. Let's see here. Okay, maybe a little less of that. Ideas there. I think I'm going to delay these about 2 frames as well. Like our west. We'll delay the up and back 2 frames. One thing I do think I want to do now is rotate C and rotate C. Let's see if we can. That's good. Pull under a little more. Let's see here. Let's turn our curves off. Let's kind of watch this a little bit. Let's do a little bit of bounce on that lower jaw here. So it'll kind of up. It's okay how it kind of varied a little bit. I really wish we could do a blink, but I don't think there is one here because those eyes just feel a little. That's okay. I kind of want to do too here. Just do a little bit of rotate. No, rotate to the. Just a little bit of just an angle there to everything. So it doesn't feel like it's just moving on one axis here. Let's go ahead and watch that now. Let's push that forward 2 frames. And let's minimize it a little bit more. So we just want a little of that pepper in there. Alright, so let's look back through perspective 1. I think that's where we started. But I think camera 1's a little better. So let's create a polygon primitives cube. Kind of have a different background here. Let's assign a new material to it. Let's put a blend on it this time because they're a little bit shinier. Let's do it. Like that. Too late. Excuse me. Thank you. I just sneezed there. And let's go ahead and grab this ground here. And switch back to our camera here. Let's raise that up. Kind of rotate it a little bit. Thank you. So we just have like a ground plane there. And we'll assign a new material to this one as well. Let's put a blend on that. And let's figure out what color we want for that. Dirt kind of a color. Perspective view. And pop it back into the camera. Turn our curves off. Let's go. This isn't as good of a starting pose, just because we cut off the tail with this camera thing, so we'll probably shoot somewhere up to like nice. It still works for the animation, but as far as posing wise, it's not as solid of a starting as we had. I want to make sure we still have some distance there. Yeah, I think that works pretty well. So let's take a look back at where we started earlier today. We were looking at Chris Sanders, and the believability factor was the most important thing. You have to move and breathe as if they're really alive. Totally true. You want to make your creations as real and as true to the world you're creating in them in as possible, and then always have a little bit of story in your drawings, and I think that's good advice. Like I said, we kind of went with this one. We had a little bit of an idea. He's kind of a little meandering, so you got a little bit of personality, a little bit of feel, a little bit of story in that kind of walk. Even though this is a short animation, you still have a little bit of feel, a little bit of story and everything in there. And I think that's really important in order to capture your audience and give them a sense of to think about and go beyond that just surface level of what your stuff is. So that being said, thanks again for all the likes and subscribes. You guys are awesome. I hope you're getting inspired and going off and creating your own stuff, and don't forget to share back if you guys are making stuff. I'd love to see all the great stuff that you guys are coming up with and be able to share it with others as well. That being said, you guys have a great and wonderful day. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you for some more animation tomorrow.